Hello and welcome back to Choice Bits of Bliss. I am on a mission to use my supplies. And this month for Collection Obsession, I used Vicky Bouton's mixed media paper pad that I purchased at Joann. And banging things around apparently. Sorry about that. Uh, I had a lot of things going on this month, so I'm just going to do a layout share of the layouts that I have completed. And we'll talk through them just a little bit. One of the things that, because as I was using my kit, I felt like I needed additional pieces to kind of punch up my layouts. And I used a 6x8 pad from Simple Stories, Simple Vintage Cottage Fields. And on one of the layouts, I brought in a 6x8 pad, Simple Stories, Simple Vintage Coastal. Now, I do not count 6x8 papers, and I used a lot. I used quite a bit during this series. So we'll talk through that just a little bit. On this layout, the photos show we had this huge branch break and we needed to dispose of it. So I was so thankful that my oldest son was home that day. He helped me get it pulled to the side of the road. And then my brother came by with his chainsaw and cut up the bigger portion of the portion of the limb. And as you can see, I'm not sure if you can tell, it was rather large. It was a very, very large branch from the tree. I used part of that Simple Vintage Cottage Fields to make the tags. Everything else came from the Vicky Bouton pad and the embellishments that I had. And of course, I just matted my layout. On this one, I started using scraps from the first layout. And I just matted it and used the embellishments from the pack. This was a time we were at a state park here in New York. We were trying to take a picture of us and the dogs, and we were laughing. We were cackling. It was because the dogs would not participate in this photographic moment, and so that is us being silly, laughing at our goofy dogs. This is a photo of the skyline of Philadelphia. So I had to go on a work trip to Philadelphia. And from my hotel room, you can see the city skyline. And I just took a shot of that. And so this was on the bottom portion of one of the papers. And I just trimmed it out, fussy cut out the little town and added my embellishments around. This photo is of it's the Genesee Park in Rochester, New York. So I was there for work, and I had taken a walk through the park and on purpose for the sunset, and just got a beautiful sunset. And these are from a Simple Stories. I want to say it was like a jungle. This is all I have left of that foam sticker sheet. And I used a couple of pieces from it. This series, I just added in a hodgepodge of things from different collections. But primarily used Vicky Bouton and Simple Stories. These circles I punched out and then cut them in half and then stitched rows of the half circles, and I really like how that looked and how that turned out. These photos are of my employees welcoming me for the second job that I got as postmaster. So I have now been postmaster at 3 different offices, and this was the second one. And I just began layering scraps around. So I used a total of 2 full pieces of paper and then just started layering scraps around it, which is why it looks kind of hodgepodgey. This layout, I gutted. So this paper here, I took out of the center of my mat, as you can see. And I don't know if you can tell in the photos, but I was laying on the bed looking at my phone. We were in the hotel room. We were in Savannah, Georgia, and it was blistering hot. My shoulders are sunburned. I don't know if you can see. But we had been out just doing touristy type things all day, and it was hot. We had stopped and gotten ice cream to try to cool down. We finally made our way back to the hotel room, and we were all just kind of chilling and trying to cool down. And I was laying on my stomach looking at my phone, and my youngest son, I don't know if you can see his head there, he laid across my back. And so I took a picture of his, trying to get a picture of him, and so I decided to shoot over my other shoulder to get so you can see him draped across my back. And I miss those days when my boys wanted to be near their mom and to cuddle, and I miss those days. So one of the things, like if I had scrapbooked this back in 2013, I probably would have documented a completely different story about that day. But being removed from it 11 years, and both of my boys are adults now, so he was just a little fella then. Yeah, it's the preciousness of time with our children. It goes so quickly, so quickly. And on that same trip, my oldest son had gone on a deep sea fishing adventure. That was one of the things that he wanted to do on that trip. And I will scrapbook, photos of that later on. But while we were waiting on him, my youngest son and I went to Tybee Island and walked the beach. And I just took some photos of him exploring and playing in the sand, collecting shells, and I just love the whole mood of this photo of him just being a boy and exploring. And then the sunrise, of course. This is the layout that I used, Simple Vintage Coastal, and I just fussy cut some elements to use to kind of highlight the fact that we were in a beach setting. But excuse me, I've got a frog on my throat. This came from Simple Vintage Cottage Fields, and I loved how it just says you are the author of your life. I love that. And then I had this book page, so I thought this goes together perfectly. And then I just added in elements to bring in that beach type feel. I like this layout a lot. I ended up getting 7 layouts done this month, which is more than I thought I was going to squeeze out. I am pleased with what I was able to get accomplished, and I hope you're playing along. I hope you're enjoying getting into your collections. Down below, I'm going to have linked everyone that I know that is playing with Collection Obsession. It's not a mandatory thing. No one's holding your feet to the fire. It's simply to help. It's just a little bit of inspiration to help us get into the supplies that we own, the things that we purchased that we loved and had to have, and help us get some of it used. That is all I have today. Thank you for joining me. Come back and we will chat again soon. Bye-bye.